What if the HRE was united in 1444? Hi everyone, and welcome to today's video, where we're going to be checking out what would happen if the HRE was united in 1444. Before we begin, consider leaving a like and subscribing, since only 12% of you are subscribed, and you can become a member today. So as you can see, it's December 1st, 1444, and I've made the HRE into one country. Basically, I tagged into Austria, annexed all the countries that were fully in the HRE, as well as all the provinces that are in the HRE. That's why Burgundy still exists, and I only have their provinces that are part of the HRE, and I took Venice's provinces that are in the HRE. You get the point. Then I added imperial authority and passed all the reforms, and I formed the Holy Roman Empire. As you can see, they have a lot of troops right now, but of course that will balance out as a few months go by, since they do need to readjust themselves to their income and stuff like that. So let's tag into them and check out their national ideas and missions. And here we are as the HRE. We can see they have +2 diplo rep and +1 possible policies in their traditions, which means they can pick 4 policies. Then they get +1.5 yearly legitimacy. That's crazy OP. +15% morale of armies. +33% improved relations. +20% national tax. -20% CCR, another crazy national idea. +5% discipline and +10% governing capacity. Also, they get +5% admin efficiency as their finisher. They also have 2 missions already unlocked, it seems, these 2, and these are all the regions that they have claims on. Basically all of Italy, all of France, all of the lowlands, and all of Poland. They're making 105 ducats a month right now. Of course, they're spending a lot more, but they will fix that pretty soon. And I did give them a bunch of governing capacity so they don't explode and release a lot of nations. As you can see, these are the lands that they desire right now. Basically all of France except Provence, Hungary, all of the Italian nations, and all of Poland, as well as some parts of the Teutons and Denmark, and East Frisia too. They are the most powerful country right now with 2080 development in 1444. So, what do you think will happen in this campaign? Will the Holy Roman Empire just blow up? Will they not be able to expand because of coalitions and aggressive expansion? Will they blob really hard and take over most of the world? Maybe not most of the world, but most of Europe? Or will they just have a pretty average game without expanding too much and taking some provinces here and there? As always, this save file in 1444 will be available to all YouTube members in the Save Games Discord channel. So let's let the scenario run and we'll check back in about 50 years. So it's been about 30 years, and let's take a look at what the Holy Roman Empire has been up to. As we can already see from this distance, they have been expanding quite a bit actually. So what they did first was declare a war against France. In that first war, they took these 2 provinces from France. After that, they had a coalition formed for some reason, even though they only took 2 provinces. I know England was part of it, not sure which other nations, but there was 4 nations in that coalition. After that, they declared a war against Poland, where they took these 3 provinces right here. Sometime after that war, they got Hungary in a personal union. I'm guessing it's because of Ladislaus Posthumous right here, where Hungary had to pick whether to become a personal union under him or to get a Hunyadi on their throne. After that, they declared their second war against France, where they took these 2 provinces down here. Actually, in that first war, they took these 2 as well. Now I'm just remembering. So in the first war, they took these 2 and these 2 down here, then these 3 from Poland, then PU over Hungary declared on France again, and they took these other 2 provinces down here, as well as Valois and Namur. After that, they declared their second war against Poland, where they took these 4 provinces, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Then their truce expired with France, and they declared on them again, where they took these 4 provinces right here. So that's basically how much they have been expanding by now. Oh yeah, they also own Arborea right here on Sardinia. I'm guessing they got this one because Naples declared a war against Aragon, and Naples is allied to the Holy Roman Empire, so they called them in, and basically Naples got these 2, whereas the Holy Roman Empire got this one. Speaking of alliances, they are allied to Bosnia right here, Ulster, Naples, and Bologna. They are giving subsidies to Bosnia and Bologna, so they are trying to make them their subject, and they're also great power influencing Bologna too. They will probably succeed in making Bologna. I don't know if Bosnia is too big though. Either way, they've taken economic economic ideas for their first idea group. Not bad. Ladislaus Posthumus is a diplomat, so he won't be trying to expand too much. Let's see which lands they desire. And as we can see, they don't desire a lot of land right now. Basically East Frisia, Burgundy, and some provinces from France. You guys remember that earlier they wanted a lot of land. The entirety of France, Italy, Poland, and Hungary. They do still have claims on all of those regions though, even though they are allied to Naples. So the first 30 years have been quite eventful. Let's see what the next 50 hold for us, and we'll check back in 1520. Now it's 1521. Let's take a look at what the Holy Roman Empire has been up to. As we can see, they have expanded quite a lot, even taking Paris. So obviously, they've been declaring wars against France. They declared a couple of wars actually. First, they took Valois and Namur right here, along with a couple of provinces down here. And then in the next few wars, they've taken Paris, this province right here, and some other provinces over here, even reaching the Atlantic in Bordeaux right here. Not a lot of expansion in Italy, that's expected. They have taken Bologna as well as these two provinces from the Pope. Of course, they won't be expanding southward because they're still allied to Naples. They have also been expanding in this direction as well. We can see they've taken more provinces from Poland up here, these four over here, this one down here, and they've even pushed down here into the Red Ruthenia area. In fact, they own all of it. Another thing, they own all of Wallachia. This is how you can tell that they were formed by Austria. This is something Austria does pretty often, of course, because they have Hungary in a PU and they can technically reach these areas. But they have expanded Hungary as well, not only themselves, giving Hungary 3 provinces from the Ottomans, which means they have defeated the Ottomans in a war. And even Venice has taken provinces from the Ottomans, even though they are not allied to the Holy Roman Empire. So this means that this happened in a separate war. Now what I'm thinking is Naples actually declared the war against the Ottomans because they are allied to both the Holy Roman Empire and Venice. So Naples took these 2 provinces down here, gave a few over here to Venice, and gave these to Hungary. So now we know the Ottomans have already been defeated, and not even by the HRE, by Naples. That's pretty cool to see. Right now the Ottomans are in a war directly against the HRE though, in the imperial conquest of Kostendil. Of course the HRE are winning, not by a whole lot. It seems that they recently declared this war, but another thing is that they do have a coalition against them. A pretty big one this time, consisting of Denmark, Serbia, England, Lithuania, Brittany, Burgundy, Provence, and Aragon. This is how that coalition looks, and of course a lot more nations could join too, like Castile, Norway, Sweden, Moldavia, Poland, and after they're done with the Ottomans, they could probably join too. Now, it's 1521 and the Protestant Reformation still hasn't spawned because, well, there are too few Catholic nations, so I am gonna force spawn it as soon as I'm done with this recording, but that's basically what they've been up to by now. They have increased their size by around 900 development, and right now they have 227,000 troops, way more than the second most powerful nation in army terms, which is Ming with 87,000. They don't have any manpower though. And they're also integrating Hungary. And these are the lands that they desire. Not too much. Ferdinand over here is an administrator. And we'll check back in 1580. Now it's 1581 and it's time to take a look at what everyone has been up to. And we can straight away see how much the Holy Roman Empire have expanded. And it is quite a lot. Basically, they've almost decimated France, but Burgundy is still alive for some reason. They're not even allied to the HRE. France is down to these 4 provinces right here, this one right here, and this one right here. The HRE now owns most of the region of France. Brittany is still alive, and England still has Maine, surprisingly, the only province in Europe, and Provence also has 1 province down here. So that's how much they've expanded in this region. Going in the other direction, they have expanded some more into Poland as well, taking these provinces right here, as well as some that originally belonged to the Teutonic Order. But the real expansion has been going on over here. Basically, they've taken over the entire Bosnia area, Bulgaria, and Silistria as well, and they're almost in Constantinople. I mean, they're right on the border of it. The Ottomans also have 1 more province here too. Now, another very cool thing that happened, which was pretty expected, was that Naples formed the 2 Sicilies. Now, this nation is very easy to form. All Naples needs to do is take over Sicily from Aragon, but it doesn't happen that often in my experience, so it's very cool to see, and they have been really strong. They've taken over almost the entire Tunis area, even though Aragon and Portugal have also been interfering in the Maghreb, and they own about half of the Balkans and half of the Ragusa trade note, they've even moved into Anatolia, Sicilian Anatolia, there we go. And the Knights have also gained one province in Teke right here. So all in all, it has been very active in Europe. Castile needs a few more provinces from Aragon so they can form Spain, but Aragon is guaranteed by Castile, so I guess they won't be forming Spain anytime soon. Basically, the biggest loser during this time has been France, the Ottomans, and Poland too, but Lithuania as well, with Polotsk being right here, who is a subject of Serbia. Alright, this is pretty cursed. I didn't expect this. So Serbia has Polotsk as a junior partner. Now, I don't know how they got this big. Maybe they just popped out of Lithuania, and I guess they fell into a PU under Serbia, and Serbia is also guaranteed by the two Sicilies, and right now they're at war with Smolensk in the Serbian conquest of, I'm not even gonna try and say that province. What I think will happen is this part of Serbia will get conquered, but they will integrate Polotsk and they'll just move here. We have some other nations popping out here as well, such as Smolensk, who is losing against Serbia right now, but we also have Livonia, another cool nation that we don't often get to see. And I guess I have unit models for these nations. I never noticed, but that does look pretty cool. Muscovy is doing alright, they haven't formed Russia yet. And we also have the Mughals. They're not very big, but they're about the standard size, but I hope they continue expanding. I never have confidence in AI Mughals. I've literally never seen them blob hard, except for that one time I played as Najd and they were literally the most powerful nation on earth. This is what the Protestant Reformation looks like, not too strong of course. We have some Protestant nations over here like Burgundy and Brittany, England is Anglican, and Poland is Reformed. And we'll check back in 1620 when the age of absolutism is in full swing. So now it's 1639, and to be honest, in these past 50 years, not a lot of expanding has been going on, surprisingly. As we can see, the HRE has cleaned up most of France. Well, basically France is gone. Actually, no, they're not gone. They're now in Ireland. Desmond is the capital of France. Their culture is Irish, they're Protestant, and we have Louis Stewart. Either way, this is how France looks. I am still bothered by this one Burgundy province, no big deal though. And they have also been expanding a bit into Poland, as we can see right here. But as far as I can see, that's pretty much it. In fact, they were just in a huge coalition war where they fought a bunch of nations. Basically all these yellow nations that you can see they fought: Denmark, England, Brittany, Burgundy, Poland, Lithuania, and some other nations in the New World, I think. Basically the colonies. But they don't seem to have lost anything. Maybe they gave back this province to Poland, not sure though. But like I said, not a lot of expanding. The two Sicilies have been expanding though into the Ottomans, as we can see right here, and into Serbia right here. Serbia is now down to one province. They don't have Polotsk as their PU subject anymore, which is pretty funny. I thought they would annex them and then move to here. Livonia has grown by one province, and Muscovy is sort of just sitting around. They do have Novgorod as a vassal, but they're disloyal. Mughals are growing a bit in India and in the steppes over here. Ming has blown up, and Daviet is pretty huge. Something strange is going on here that you don't see too often. Basically, Ashikaga and their subjects expanding out of Japan before Japan has actually formed. So as we can see, we have Ochi Korea right here and Ashikaga Manchuria. Pretty strange and not something you see that often. This is what South America looks like. Yeah, Burgundy are actually colonizing. They took exploration and expansion. Cuba has formed. This was a Portuguese colony. They're independent very early. Pretty cool to see. And the natives are growing big in North America. Now it is the age of absolutism, so expansion should ramp up. The HRE didn't expand too much. They had a ruler who was a diplomat. He didn't want any lands, and not that this guy's any better, he doesn't want that much lands too. They do still have claims on a ton of territories though, so let's see what they do in the age of absolutism, and we'll check back in 1680. Now at 1780, let's take a look at what the HRE has been up to. Not a whole lot, as we can see from this initial sort of look. Pretty much they've only been expanding in this area a bit. We can see that they've taken some provinces from, well, originally from Lithuania, but maybe Muscovy owned them. I don't really remember, but they have expanded a bit over here. They have also taken over Moldavia. Poland was present here, if you guys remember, but that's pretty much it. I guess their limited expansion is due to their rulers, which have pretty much all been balanced, or diplomats or administrators, no militarist rulers, the guys that want to conquer a lot. We can see that they do desire some lands. They do have truces with many nations, so I don't know what that is about. Maybe they had another coalition. I don't think so though. Either way, not a whole lot of expanding has been going on. We can see that the two Sicilies actually released the Pope from these provinces over here. The Pope ceased to to exist at one point, and they even have a province here in the Mamluks. But basically lots of nations are blobbing. We can see that the HRE is pretty big, the Mamluks are pretty big too, the Mughals, Muscovy up here. Will they form Russia? Who knows? They do need to integrate Novgorod first, something which they aren't actually able to do since Novgorod is disloyal. But Muscovy has the Habsburgs on their throne. I don't know how this happened. They aren't royal married or allied to the HRE. And actually, let's take a look at the dynastic map mode. So we have the Habsburgs in the HRE, the two Sicilies, Muscovy, and Sweden. So there definitely is potential for some PUs, although all of these nations seem to have heirs right now. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. This is what South America looks like, pretty much filled up by colonists. English Brazil, we have Castile right here and Burgundy down here. And this is what North America looks like. The English and the Castilians are dominating. No Spain yet. They still need some provinces from Aragon, which they guarantee. I swear, dude, this AI sometimes, I don't know what to say. But anyway, Morocco is gone and we have Tlemcen, a nation that's rarely successful. Some other oddities include Maharan dominating the Horn of Africa. But yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on. We'll see if things ramp up in the Age of Revolutions, and we'll check back in 1730. Now it's 1730 and the HRE is once again in a coalition war, this time against England, Lithuania, Brittany, Burgundy, France, Aragon, and Castile. And they're also supporting the independence of Novgorod. I'm telling you guys, man, it's not even funny. There's been so many coalition wars, probably more than 10, I would say, maybe even 12. They just keep getting declared on. And they're not even expanding that much, so I don't really know why they're forming. They take like 2 or 3 provinces at a time and they just get coalitioned and get coalitioned and get coalitioned all the time. Either way, that's what's been going on. They have expanded a bit into France. Now the only nation that's left here is Burgundy. Their capital isn't even here, in fact, it's right here in Canada. It did used to be in the Ivory Coast, but Mali took that over from them. They also expanded into the Ottomans. As we can see, they've taken Constantinople and these 3 provinces right here, as well as some provinces over here. The Ottomans are very tiny now and their main power base is basically right here. The Mamluks have also been expanding in Arabia a bit. The Mughals seem to be stagnating, pretty expected. AI Mughals never do well, but they have expanded here a bit. Muscovy is blowing this way, they still can't form Russia. Novgorod's independence is being supported, and there have been no PUs, but all 4 of these nations do still have the Habsburg dynasty. 2 Sicilies didn't have a ruler at one point, but they didn't fall into a PU, they just got another Habsburg on the throne. It is the Age of Revolution, so let's take a look at the revolutionary map mode, and it does seem that some nations are being converted, and it seems that the revolution spawned in the Mamluks. Will we see revolutionary Mamluks? Probably not, but it is spreading mostly in Africa and some provinces in the HRE as well. So let's see what the revolution does, and we'll check back in 1780. Now it's 1783, and let's take a look at what has been going on. The 2 Sicilies and the Holy Roman Empire have taken some provinces from the Ottomans here. Basically, the 2 Sicilies have taken some over here, and the HRE has connected their lands all the way to the Crimean Peninsula. Another cool thing that happened was the HRE did get Sweden in a PU, but I guess they released them or something, or maybe they were disloyal, or pretenders won, or whatever. But they do have some provinces here still left over. They probably conquered Denmark. Either way, now they're not in a PU, and they're losing in a war against Russia. Of course, Muscovy did form Russia. They finally managed to annex Novgorod, and they have been expanding. Oh, we have a rare nation right here, the nation of Djungar. But otherwise, no real expansion. Basically, they've annexed Denmark. Oh, actually they haven't. They still exist in Iceland and in the Faroe Islands. Checking out the revolutionary map mode, we can see that the Mamluks did go revolutionary. We can take a look at their wonderful flag over here. But we have some other revolutionary nations too, such as Ayer. They have a great flag too. Not really, I hate these flags. We also have Rwanda, Tumbuka, I don't know which nation this is. I don't think I've ever heard of them. And in Southeast Asia, we also have Jambi and Patani. So a rare, successful revolution, at least for the Mamluks, and a lot of nations are basically ready to go full revolutionary, such as the Mamluks, Hormuz, Maharan, Kilwa, Maravi, and maybe even the Ottomans. They still haven't gone revolutionary though. Going over to South America, we can see that the colonies broke free. We have Brazil, this used to be English. Paraguay have expanded quite a lot. They were about this big, but they've conquered a lot from Burgundy down here. We also have Colombia. Cuba, you already know, they were present since around the 1550s probably. And a very rare colonial nation, Louisiana. They don't pop up too often. And we also have, oh, I thought it was Illinois, but it's not. It's Illinois. Oh, we also have Cascadia. Now, I wonder why they're not Alaska. I guess they just chose to become Cascadia, but that's pretty cool. We have lots of colonial nations. And the natives aren't doing too bad either. We have Coweta and Iroquois. But that's pretty much what's been going on during these past 50 years, mostly the revolution taking place without too much expansion, at least in Europe. I think the Holy Roman Empire are getting sort of locked because they're allied to the two Sicilies. And something else I'm wondering, why haven't they pushed into Iberia at all the entire game? Either way, let's take a look at what the final 40 years hold for us, and we'll check back in 1821. And it's finally January 3rd, 1821. Let's sum up this scenario. Basically, as you guys know, we created the Holy Roman Empire, and I did this by annexing every country and every province in the HRE as Austria, and then adding imperial reform progress to pass all the reforms and then form the Holy Roman Empire. So I didn't just spawn the country. That's why they still have the Habsburg dynasty. But basically, you know the size of the HRE in 1444, encompassing all of Germany, northern Italy, parts of France, and that's how it looked like. And this is how much they have expanded. As you know, they started out with claims on the Poland, Carpathia, Italy, and France regions, and basically they've achieved their claims. This is how much they managed to conquer by now, and I have to say, I did sort of expect them to do like this. I didn't think they would blob very hard, but they did expand quite a lot. As we can see, they've taken over the entirety of France, the entirety of the Low Countries, North Germany, South Germany, basically the northern portion of Italy, pretty much what they started out with the exception of some of the Pope's northern provinces. They also got Hungary in a PU because they were Austria, conquered some provinces in Wallachia, Moldavia, and in the Balkans they've reached Constantinople too, and even pushed into Anatolia, the Caucasus, and the Pontic steppe regions. They also expanded into Poland, taking over the entire Poland region and a bit into the Baltic as well. And they have some provinces in Scandinavia too, not too much though. And finally, in the last couple of 50 years, they've started pushing into Iberia, taking about a third of it. Right now they are in a war with Sus, but I guess we'll never see what happens. And they also own portions of the Maghreb right here. These are the lands that they desire right now, but I guess they will never get them. Otherwise, they were allied to Naples, who formed the two Sicilies for the entire game. In fact, they still are allied, a very strong alliance right there. The two Sicilies also have the Habsburgs, and so does Russia. In fact, they got Sweden in a PU earlier, but I guess they released them or something, since Sweden had the Habsburg dynasty too. Big shout out to the two Sicilies as well, they were pretty successful. This is how the Protestant Reformation looks like, basically non-existent. There were some Protestant and Reformed countries, but the HRE has taken them over, and only Great Britain is Anglican, with some Protestant provinces over here, and some Reformed provinces here. Muscovy formed Russia, although a bit late in the game, and they did blob pretty hard. The revolution was very successful. We have the revolutionary Mamluks, once again with their wonderful flag, and the Mamluks became revolutionary too. A pretty rare name right here, the Revolutionary Gurkhani Empire. Their flag is pretty much the same as the Mamluks flag, which is pretty funny. By the way, they were ruled by a council of some sort. It's gonna pop up on your screen right now because I got a screenshot, but this is pretty cursed, as you can see right here. There are some minor revolutionary countries as well. Kilwa is pretty successful, so is Bengal, Ming collapsed, and Shun and Diviate are huge. Japan is pretty good too. In South America we have Brazil, Paraguay, and Colombia, former colonial nations, very successful right now. In North America we have Cascadia, Louisiana as the biggest nations, with some colonies and native nations as well. Burgundy immigrated to Africa right here, and after that they immigrated to Canada, and right now their capital is right here. Speaking of capitals, the HRE has Austria at 87 development, a lot less than some other nations that we've seen in these what if scenarios, but still pretty good. In the ledger we can see that the HRE has the highest income with almost 1,000 ducats, followed closely by Great Britain, Russia, Bengal, the two Sicilies, the Mamluks, the Mughals, Brazil, Cuba, Paraguay, and so on. In the armies we can see that they have 600,000 troops, followed by Russia, Great Britain, the Mughals, I get them confused, the Mamluks, Bengal, Brazil, two Sicilies, Louisiana, and so on. Also a lot less than some other nations we've seen. Basically one of these what if videos, Russia had like 2 million troops. I don't remember which one it was though. As you know, they started out number 1 on the Great Powers list with 2,080 development. Right now they're at 5,448. They've more than doubled in size. After that we have Russia, Great Britain, Bengal, the two Sicilies, the Mughals, the Mamluks, and Castile. And they've also become an economic hegemon, although recently, and they haven't filled it up at all. So what would happen if the HRE existed in 1444? Well, obviously they would be the most powerful nation in 1444, and they would keep it up until the end of the game. They would expand, but not too much, basically taking over some regions that they had claims on. I do feel like their alliance with the Two Sicilies sort of limited them though, but they were also limited by constant coalitions forming on them. They had probably more than 10 or 15 coalitions throughout the entire game, and they kept getting declared on and declared on and declared on. So that also hindered their growth a bit. Either way, they would be a very powerful and very successful nation. Obviously, they would stay as Catholic. They chose economic offensive, influence defensive, religious, espionage, and innovative ideas. Not too much focus on the military as we can see. And that's pretty much how this scenario turned out. If you would like this save game in 1444, it is available to all YouTube members in the Save Games Discord channel. Let me know in the comments below what's the next what if scenario that I should do. If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe, since only 12% of you are subscribed, and you can become a member today and join the Discord. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another EU4 video.